Hello, hello, how are we all doing today? Another glorious Sunday to get some painting done, and today I'm going to be painting up Spider-Man from Marvel Crisis Protocol. So I don't know if any of you guys have seen this. This game seems to have completely slipped under my radar, but basically it's a skirmish infantry game featuring Marvel characters. So all your heroes, villains, all that cool stuff. Painted up Drax the Destroyer over the last couple of days, and yeah, really enjoyed doing it with a kind of bit of more comic booky scheme for that. So yeah, the plan is to start churning through the vast collection of Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures I've been picking up recently. So yeah, I thought today we'll start with Spider-Man, nice easy one, and if we do get him done, or at least some base colours down, we can probably use the same colours on Captain America and Captain Marvel, you know, all the blues and reds. So yeah, that is the battle plan for today. How is everyone doing out there in the chat? I see Andy Woods is there. Good morning, sir. What are you working on this fine day? You sorted with your Mega Gargant now? So that us. What we'll probably do is start blocking in the red of his suit. Got some reference pictures just out of shot here. And then the blue kind of goes up under his arms. And then red gloves, red boots again. So we'll do that first. Do the blue. We'll probably go in with a super thin wash to go into the crevices and get like the black netting down on his outfit. Pick out his eyes, and he should be a fairly quick one to do. We want to kind of go with a comic booky look, so we'll probably go quite bright colours, bright highlights. Yeah, something a bit fun. Andy was says Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. He can indeed. See Jay's in the chat. Hello, hello. How we doing? Craig Sinclair has got Slanesh on his desk. Sold a ton of models during the week and used the funds for excessive desires. Sorry. Yeah, the new Slanesh models are really, really cool. I've managed to resist so far just because I've got so much on the old paint backlog as it is. So yeah, I think once I've painted some of my Slanesh demons I haven't done yet, then I'm going to jump into the new stuff. But I am super tempted to pick up Glutos and Zigvold because they are amazing models. So what we're going to do first is just mix up a red that will start going in with the base colour. We'll probably start quite dark. And again, it's just a case of experimenting with the colours, seeing what works, and then yeah, we'll build up the red effect that we've got. So if we start, has he got any blue on his head? Hasn't, no. So I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there's like a line that runs around there that pretty much divides the red and the blue areas on his outfit. So we're fairly safe to just start blocking in the red on this guy. Might be a little bit thick, that. So yeah, the tough bit's going to be the kind of black webbing. So there's a few ways we could do it. Could have gone in with black first and then kind of paint in the kind of segmented sections. But I think realistically what we're best doing is painting it all red, washing down over that. If I do it thin enough, that should go into the crevices of this outfit, and then hopefully should look all right. Fingers crossed, anyway. What I've done to start this as well is kind of given it a zenithal undercoat, so gone in with the black and then gone over that with the red. It just gives us a nice bit of tone. It does some auto shading for us as well. So yeah, and with the bright kind of superhero colours, it'll go over the white a lot nice to get a kind of bright effect. In fact, that colour looks spot on, to be fair. Andy Wood says this Mega Gargant all done. Moving on to squigs today. You've had those squigs for a while, haven't you, Andy? I'm impressed. It's something that I've always fancied doing, a squig army. I think it'd be really fun. Are you going for like a uniform colour of squig, or are you going like multicoloured squigs? I think that'd be the hard bit to decide for me. I think I'd be tempted to go kind of classic red squigs, but I've seen some really nice stuff with multicoloured squigs. Some really weird and wacky stuff I think looks cool on them. Craig, building the Lord of Pain and the Shard Seeker just now. My Keeper of Secrets is taking a biostrip bath, as well as I can paint him about 10 times better than I did a year ago. That's cool. Yeah, both those models are really nice. I really like the Shard Seeker. He's pretty good in game as well. He's got some nasty abilities. Yeah, I really want to paint them up myself. The Blissbarb archers look really fun as well. I don't know if you picked up any of those yet. I liked painting up the one out of the Dread pageant. That was a cool set to paint up. And I'm sure you could use the same techniques on most of the Slaanesh Mortal stuff. So, boom, pop in the red. Like I say, this guy should be fairly quick to paint, really, because, let's face it, he's just like red and blue, and then white eyes. Uniform squig colour, and I'm thinking of putting my grots like medieval times monks. Interesting. That's a different one, Andy. What's the plan with those then? Kind of like hoods and stuff. Like, you know, browny black kind of robes over them. That'd be pretty fun. Where are we here? So, it goes red there. Jay says, Blood Angels Leviathan. Got a small number of pointy-eared models on the horizon I need to get ready for. Craig, one box of archers and a box of demonettes on the desk as well. Went all in and got every model. Amazing. Oh, I want every model. Yeah, they're really nice. I've probably painted more demonettes than I'd ever care to paint again, so I think I'm good for demonettes myself. But they still stand up, to be fair. I still like the plastic demonettes. I also really like the chariots, but I never want to build one again. I've got a full chariot Slaanesh army of about 7 or 8 chariots in it. Yeah, that wasn't fun building them. They yeah, they're certainly a little bit soul destroying those the chariots to build. If you're painting them as well, I recommend leaving the crew, the chariot and the seekers separate as well. Otherwise it can be a little fiddly to paint. They look really cool when they're done though. In fact, I've still got a couple of chariots to build out of the box that they did Shadow and Pain. I've got under this desk here. Some reinforcements for both my Slaanesh and my Daughters of Cain, which I'll probably work on while I'm waiting for the Cursed City stuff to come out, because that's probably going to be my next big project. I fancy doing a full undead force, maybe. What are they called now? Soul Blight Gravelords, when they finally get revealed. Obviously, we saw a few teasers for them on the Warhammer community stream at the weekend. So yeah, all that stuff out of Cursed City will be going in my army. It's all got War Scroll, so hopefully it's all got the Soul Blight keywords, so I can take it in my army without any issues. I think that'd be really cool. Just going to get a bit more water plus out to thin this down. What did everyone think of the stream yesterday? Lots of goodies shown off. It seemed to be a rapid fire reveals, loads of cool stuff. I think we'll be discussing it properly on the podcast tomorrow, but yeah, it was pretty ace. Craig, I've lost track of your projects, Matt. Was it in 2019 I did the Chariot Army? To be honest, Craig, I've lost track of my projects myself. 2019. It may well have been. You tell me. Yeah, I've had. So since Warhammer Fantasy, I've collected demons. So I've got demons of each flavour. So whenever the new battle tomes have come out, I've always added a couple of units and just expanded them a little bit. I'd love to see a proper combined demon army come back, and the teaser that we had for Be'lakor kind of gives me hope that'll be a thing. Let's just move this camera a bit because it's not focusing too well today. Is that any better, guys? There we go. Yeah, so Be'lakor gives me hope of a combined demon army coming back, because I think that'd be really fun. It gives me an excuse to use all those demons together, and also leave the door open for maybe, unmarked demons as well. So obviously we've got the kind of demonic creatures seen in Warcry. That could be a nice little place for them all to live. Generic lesser demons, generic greater demons. That stuff would work with the Horus Heresy, Demons of the Runestorm as well. So yeah, I think there's lots of potential for cool stuff. Even if it's just Be'lakor and a new War Scroll for him, and it expands on the mixed demon rules out of Wrath of the Everchosen, that'd be cool as well. We haven't really had any games with them since then, because obviously the world's been in a strange place. So yeah, looking forward to getting some games on. Awesome reveal. Lumineth are really tempting me now. You know what, Andy? I said this yesterday as well. So I was kind of take them or leave them from the first wave. I wasn't. They were nice models, but I wasn't overly taken by them. But the new stuff, that scenery piece is incredible. The Swordmasters, they are really cool as well. And the Bolt Thrower, basically all the stuff that's kind of got vibes of the old High Elves. And my favourite thing is the scenery piece. I mean, I'm getting one of them just to paint up. I do love me some scenery, but yeah, I very much enjoying seeing all that stuff come out. It's a strange one, isn't it? Because the book's less than a year old, but the book was probably due to be released a lot earlier than it did, so it does seem like the book's coming out maybe a bit quickly after the original one. On the plus side, though, they have said that if you've got the old book, all the new War Scrolls will be in the Teclis Broken Realms book, so that's pretty cool. I do wonder if there'll be any exclusive content that will be in the main battle tome, though, that won't be in the Broken Realms book. It'd surprise me if there's no kind of new battalions and relics and all that kind of stuff. So I imagine realistically you probably will want to pick up the new book, but we shall see. We shall see what happens. I may be wrong. Okay, so we're nearly done on this red. What we'll probably want to do is come back and just give it another coat, just to make it a bit more vivid once we've done this. But yeah, we've nearly got the base down. We'll just get this back panel done, and then we'll probably move on to the blue, and then come back and just give this another coat just to build up this red. It's a nice red we've got on here. So anyone else out in the chat painted any of these Marvel figures before? They're really nice, especially if you are a bit of a Marvel nerd. Oh, is that blue actually? That is blue at the back. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So yeah, is anyone else in the chat painted any of these Marvel figures? They're really nice models. The sculpts are really good. They're a little bit fiddlier than GW models to put together, but not as fiddly as, say, Malifaux. I don't think I've got a sprue to hand. But yeah, some of the parts are a little bit small. So Star-Lord, for example, his head came in 4 sections. The left and right of his head, his hair, and then the faceplate were all separate parts. Equally, the little kind of booster on his boots was a separate part. So there's a couple of small parts on the models that are a little bit fiddly. But yeah, they went together fine. There's a few gaps here and there. But, you know, that's to be expected. Give them a bit of a sand down and they're fine. So, we've got the red done. What we'll do now is block in the blue and then we'll go back and touch this up. So, we'll get some blue prepared. Undecided what to use for this blue here. We might just try out Instar Pure Blue out the pot. See how that looks. If I need to darken it down, I might do a little bit. So, Craig says Be'lakor looks huge, bloodthirster sized, I reckon. Well, we'll see. It's hard to judge the size from the teaser they put, but there was like a dead Chaos Warrior on the base, and he looked quite chunky compared to that. So, a big bloodthirster sized Be'lakor would be really cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Jay went, Lumineth Realm Lords went from one of the smallest to one of the largest factions. It's nice to see the Venari range expanded too. Yeah, so the Lumineth range looks pretty big now, which is good, which is really good. I do wonder if we're going to see Tyrion in this wave. I've got suspicions that we will. If you think about the kind of reveals that Games Workshop do, they don't always show the big centerpiece model, even when they've shown off the rest of the range. For example, Glutos for the Slaanesh range, we didn't see him till we'd seen pretty much all the other models. So I think they might be keeping Tyrion as a nice surprise. It'd be really cool. If you actually look on the standard bearer model, on the right hand side, there's an image of Teclis's mount. I can't remember what it's called. Jay, you'll have to help me in the chat. But the thing that Teclis rides on. And then on the left hand side of that same banner, you can actually see another creature. It looks a bit weird. Vaguely dragon-like. It's got wings, it's got legs, it's got what looks to be a trunk. So yeah, definitely an interesting one. Whatever it is, I don't think it's going to be your standard like dragon. I think it's going to be something a bit more weird and wonderful, because you know most of the creatures that we've seen in this wave have been like new invented creatures for the Lumineth to ride on. So I've got a feeling we're going to see the same here for Tyrion's mount, if he does come, which I hope he does. Yeah, that blue is pretty much spot on as well. Needs a bit more water floss. So what I've found, if you're using maybe slightly thicker paints, drop of water plus really helps it flow a little bit better. Yeah, I'm completely sold on that now. Doesn't need much, just a little drop of it, and it gets it flowing really nicely, giving a really kind of smooth coat. I still go back and do multiple coats, but yeah, sometimes that first kind of thick base coat can be quite chunky, can't it? So it just smooths that out a little bit. The good thing with these models as well, they're quite big compared to like normal, you know, equivalent size Games Workshop models. They're a little bit exaggerated. Some of them have got some fiddly little details, but I suppose you're painting 10 models, your entire army, so you've got a bit more freedom to take your time on them. You know, it's the equivalent of however many models you'd have in a normal unit. but over the whole army. Yeah, he's starting to look alright. That the Selenar. Cheers, Jay. Craig loves the Lumineth guy with the paintbrush. Yeah, he's cool. I really like Monkey. If you've ever seen old 70s TV show Monkey, with the guy who flies around on a cloud, based on Journey to the West, the old Chinese story about the Monkey King. He's probably my favourite model, just because of that cool reference. There's quite a few kind of like Eastern influences on this wave. Obviously, we've got the Kitsune style fox god thing. He's really cool. And we've got the it kind of looks like a Hoary Gate, the big scenery piece. I think that's really nice as well. I've missed a little bit of red by his neck. That's annoying. We'll block in the blue, then we'll go back in. But he's starting to get there, isn't he? Right. We may have to switch up for a smaller brush in a bit. Just to get in some of these little... no, we're fine. Just to get in these fiddly little nooks and crannies, but yeah, it's okay. And then the back panel where I've messed up here, I might need another coat just to cover the red now. But it's fine, we'll block it in and we can come back. I believe the spider is black, is it? Yeah, spider's black. I don't know if the one on his back's white. If anyone wants to look up any reference photos for me, does Spider-Man have a black or white spider on his back? It's definitely black on the front. I want to say black on the back too, but you never know. Obviously, there have been various iterations of Spider-Man over the years, so we're talking classic Peter Parker Spider-Man. They do a Miles Morales figure. They do Gwen Stacy as well. So there's all sorts of Spider people available. Boom. Okay, let's tidy up down here. He's starting to look the piece, isn't he? He's certainly red and blue. Right. So I think we'll swap back to the red and just touch that up a little bit. Like I say, this guy should be pretty quick to do. What we're in 23 minutes into the stream, and we've got some base colours on Spidey. Yeah. So let's get some more red on the go. I had a bit of a sort out of the hobby room on Friday, so things were a little bit more organised in here. And then I made the silly mistake of managing to dump half a pot of Vulcan green all over the floor. Bad times. Don't do that. Absolutely don't do that. Andy says there's a squig with a goblin in his mouth. A squig with a goblin in his mouth. Excellent. Jay says it's red, I think. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Well, we'll have to wait till that's dry anyway there. We can go back and do that last. But yeah, these are really nice models. So we'll get this this base coat down, and then we can start playing with the details. Right, let's do that spot up on his shoulder that I've missed. Gotta be careful with the red and blue, don't like this. I don't end up with kind of purple tide marks around the side of it. We've got a bit here where I've had to go over the red with the blue, so I'll have to go over that with another layer at some point. But yeah, on the plus side, I think we'll be able to use these pretty much exact same colours, painting up Captain Marvel and Captain America as well. So while waiting for this guy to dry, we might do that and start to get some base colours down on them. Also been doing something unexpected this week and painting up an ultramarine, and I actually really enjoyed painting it. It's depressing. It's I would be tempted to do an ultramarine army now. I've never painted one before, and for some reason I think it was March to McCragg, the one about it on Warhammer TV, and I thought, I've got an ultramarine, I can paint him up. And yeah, I'm really happy with how he turned out. I'll grab him once I've done this red and show you how he turned out. Also managed to finish off Kagra's Ravagers as well, so I'll grab those out and show you guys what they look like. Really happy with how they turned out too. Come on, camera. Yeah, he's looking cool. Andy was must resist buying more grots. Jay said, good luck with that, Andy. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Resisting the draw of new models. I had amazing willpower resisting Slaanesh. I was this close to like ordering everything. One-click bundle of the lot. Okay. So, let's finish off the blue on the blue areas, and then we'll just let this dry before we carry on with the next stages. I know I said it last time, but how cool is Curse City as well? I think most of my favourite models of the show come from that box. They look so good. The ogre vampire. In fact, Andy, you're a fan of ogres. We've got a big ogre in the adventurers party. We've got an ogre vampire of all things. We've got some undead ogres in the box as well. It's yeah, really cool stuff. I mean, you don't want to mess around with a vampire ogre, do you? You just leave him be. The big ogre bodyguards as well with their axes. So in the original teasers that we saw, I kind of assumed that they were undead Uruks. Yeah, no, they're not. They're ogres. Big, ugly, green, undead ogres. I mean, what more do you need? That's surely selling the game right there. Andy Wood says, vampire, ogres, ogres, ogres. Yeah. If I can do an army of undead ogres, I will do, Andy. Trust me. Right, let's block that in. So we think the spider on the back's red, so once this is done, we can go back in and add that. Yeah, he's looking alright, isn't he? So, next steps we've really got is the spider on the front. We've got the netting to do, so we'll do that with a thin down wash, which will probably be alright to do, and then we can go in and start kind of highlighting the individual sections within that. Again, going to be a bit kind of comic booky with that. Not going to go too crazy with the old highlights there. So yeah, let's pop this down, let him dry a tad, and I'll show you what I've been working on over the last week. So grab him. So yeah, I had an urge to paint up an ultramarine, and I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. I can't remember his name, but this is the limited edition one that came in the Conquest magazine. So yeah, I thought for March for McCrag, we'll slap some paint down on him. Try to be kind of as neat as I can with the edge highlights, so don't know if you can see him that well, but yeah, really happy with how he turned out. So I'm kind of tempted to do an army of these at some point, as much as I hate to admit it. And then yeah, was working on Drax the Destroyer, and again pretty happy with how he turned out. Some of the red tattoos are a little bit wonky on him, but he's fine enough. They've all got these sculpted like oh cheers, Lieutenant Calcius, is that it? Cheers, Craig. Yeah, they've all got these kind of like pre-sculpted city bases on the Marvel miniatures, so quite nice that it ties it all together. I was in two minds about keeping the miniatures separate from the bases to make them a bit easier to paint, but yeah, it'll be fine. It's a bit fiddly, but I'll be able to pick it up. So we need to wait for that to dry a little bit more. So what we're going to start doing then is basing in some of these details on the base. So we've got the metal kind of like girder coming up. We'll do that, and then we'll start painting the grey for the actual kind of like flooring area as well. So let's start with the silver. Block that in, and then we'll rewash this quite a bit as well. So let's put this down. And again, I'm not too fussed with us having some quite kind of chunky, bright colours on here. I want to go for the full kind of like comic book scheme. Let's see how this goes over the white. Again, we might need a couple of coats of this, but that's fine. And then we'll kind of weather the hell out of this all at the end. The base and everything. Nice rusty girder that he's on. If we get the colours down first, then we can start building that up, can't we? So, one of the things some people don't like about these models is that pretty much everything's standing on some kind of rock / girder / explosion, which I don't mind. I quite like that, but some people moan about the old tactical rock that they're standing on. She's never really got, there's a few people turned their nose up to it at Warhammer as well, where your character's standing on something, and there's always the comment of, oh, they're carrying that stone with them all the time to stand on. Look, it's just representation of what they look like during battle. He isn't literally carrying it around with him all the time, is he? So okay, so we've got the silver down. We'll go in with the grey and just do that, and then hopefully by the time we've done that, the paint should be dry enough for us to start doing the next section. Did anyone pick up any goodies on the Black Library Weekender as well? I know there was a new Ultramarine model for that and loads of cool books. I want to get, I think it's called Dead Man Walking, something like that. It's a Deathcore Krieg novel, and I'm a fan of the Krieg. I've got a big Krieg army, so I might treat myself to that on payday. I've never read it before. I think it's about Deathcore versus Necrons, if I remember rightly, which is pretty cool, especially with the Necrons getting new stuff. Jay says a grudge stone. Yeah, Spider-Man's got a grudge girder then. Yeah, so there's some cool books. There's a really cool one that a really cool one that is kind of like a companion piece to Blackstone Fortress. What's it called? Liber Xenologus or something like that. And it's basically an in-universe account of the various aliens found at Precipice. And I thought that's a really cool thing. I kind of like the in-universe lore books they do. And basically it's supposed to be a book written by Yanis Drake, the rogue trader out of Blackstone Fortress, chronicling his accounts of the various aliens he's encountered. So that's pretty fun. I like that. I know it's a super limited edition, and I think it's about 40 quid. I don't know if it's still available. I imagine a lot have been picked up by scalpers and are on eBay already, which always annoys me with these kind of things. They were doing some cool pin badges as well, so I collect pin badges. There's like one of each kind of Xenos race, which was pretty fun. I picked up the last ones that they did. They did 2 sets of Legion pin badges. So they're all up on my pin badge wall up here, just that shot. In fact, I might get a picture on Twitter of that later on. A lot of it's kind of Disney and Universal stuff. I'm a bit of a Disney nerd as well as a Warhammer nerd. But yeah, I do like collecting pin badges. I've picked up quite a few over the years of various ones that Games Workshop have done, and then just recently they've obviously started selling them separately as well. So there was kind of a blind bag series of pin badges that they've done. They've done a few kind of limited edition ones that have been in orders for various products or for various store events. One for the, what's that, 100th store in Australia, something like that, or 50th store in Australia. Can't see from here. I'm fairly certain they did one for the 500th store in the UK. So yeah, they do some cool stuff. It's one of the advantages to maybe going into your local Warhammer store when they do these cool events, because they've got some really nice collectibles. The coins that they've been doing this year, I've got the first 2. Obviously in the UK, the stores are closed at the minute. Hopefully they start to reopen at some point. But essentially, I think if you spent £50 in store, you got a coin. So I'll show you those in a second once I've done this guy. So we had, whoops. So we had a Daughters of Cain one, which was really, really nice, and a Death Guard one, and then they did one with Diachasm as well. Nice big chunky kind of primacy token. So yeah, these are really nice things. I think the one that's currently in stores is a Head Knights of Slaanesh one, and then we've seen a sneaky photograph of an Orc one. So presumably the Orcs are going to get a new codex soon, which is cool. Obviously we know we've got Drukhari on the way, and we've got the I think we've seen some Reeboks Mechanicus stuff as well. So I've got a feeling that codex releases are going to be pretty quick this edition. I think they want to try and churn them all out, which does make sense. They tend to do in a new edition, try and get some of the old books up to date. Just makes it a bit, I suppose, makes the game more balanced across all the books. If everybody's got their new books up to date, there's always a bit of a gap, isn't there, in power between previous editions and new ones. It can make things a little bit hard to balance, really. So I think it's in their interest to get everyone up to date. And then you've got the cool stuff like Crusade as well that you can then include. So now I say relatively quick. Obviously at the minute we've got fortnightly releases, haven't we? So yeah, that's going to make things a little bit slower. Obviously we've got Kill Team out at some point. That looks pretty cool. We've got the narrative expansion with the Death Guard, and then alongside this, I think there's like a match play or a supplement detailing the planet they're fighting on, which is pretty cool. And we saw that ages ago, so I'm hopefully that's something that we see in the near future, because I really like that kind of stuff. I've really enjoyed all the kind of source books and Crusade supplements and stuff like that. And I'm into a massive pool of missions for the game as well. So when we can finally play games again, there'll be a lot of variety for us. Spy Dave in the chat. On my way home, so we'll probably be properly watching soon. Thought I'd swing by and say hi. Excellent. So I think Dave said he was going to be putting some finishing touches to Typhus and some Necron Warriors, if I remember rightly. What we're also looking at as well is getting Jay and Dave involved on these streams as well. So whether we have us all on this weekly stream, be pretty good, or what we might even do is have a couple of different nights, and maybe I'll cover this show. Dave can do a different show covering what he's painting. Let us know what you think, if you're enjoying these kind of things. I still want to do another show during the week as well. The idea is, I guess, focus on kind of GW stuff on the weekly show, and then on the weekend show feature some non-Games Workshop models, so like these, like the Barbarian that we painted the other week. I've picked up a load of Napoleonic stuff as well, so I do fancy giving that a go. So yeah, let us know what you think. What do you guys want to see? Would you like us to focus solely on GW minis, or would you like seeing some different stuff? Open to all feedback, really. Cool. So he is probably going to need a little bit of time to dry. So what we might start doing, because we've got similar colours out, is make a start on Captain Marvel. So Captain Marvel has got mostly blue uniform, and then we've kind of got a red and gold motif at the top, and then kind of these swirly bits of red, and little bits of red on her boots. So I think if we go in with the blue over a main bodysuit, and then we can start painting in some of the other details. Just because really I need that base coat on Spider-Man to be dry before we start putting in the washes and getting that netting in place. It's just going to look a bit muddy if I rush that. So, well, we've got time. You go Toofer. You can have Captain Marvel as well. And again, we'll use those same colours because they work really well. I'm thinking, obviously with the comics, a lot of it is going to be like primary colours. So I think that should fit the style pretty well. So again, we'll use this similar mix of colours here on Captain America. For metallics, I was toying with non-metallics, but I think actual metallics will look better. So Iron Man, we might spray him gold and then build up the red on his armour by using some kind of like glaze over that. We might thin using Waterploss a red to get it down into like kind of like a contrast kind of thickness to it and flow. So we'll have a play. These will all be a bit of an experiment, these Marvel models. Jay wants to see your Aleph. Yeah, so I've had a load of Infinity models for a long time that I've not painted up. So they will also probably do on these Sunday streams again to focus on something a little bit different. Oh, that blue goes on silky smooth with Waterploss. Yeah, so bit of everything I want to paint really. Just mix things up a little bit. I was rewatching Captain Marvel last night. A lot of people didn't like it, but it's actually one of my my favourite Marvel films. you've got 90s Samuel L. Jackson, you've got an awesome 90s soundtrack. It's so good. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm currently rewatching all the Marvel films and going through them in chronological order. So, started with Captain America, watched Captain Marvel last night, and then started on Iron Man 1 is next in chronological order. I think that makes the most sense to watch them back in that order. I don't know what you guys think. Obviously, you could watch them in release order as well. Luckily, Disney Plus gives you the option to watch them all ways, which is handy. Boom, boom, boom. Again, this blue's going on really quickly and smooth, and it'll need another coat, but it's looking all right. Mix a little bit more of this. Andy Woods just finished watching Infinity War last night. Ant-Man 2 tonight. Excellent. Yeah, Ant-Man's cool. What's everyone's favourite superhero then in the chat while we're at it? I mean, for a kind of Andy's a release order kind of guy. Interesting. There's no right or wrong way to watch him. My sister's just been watching him in like any random order, just in an order of the films that she likes. Yeah, as a kind of Warhammer adjacent fact, I think I'm going to put a vote out for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Obviously, the newest incarnation of them, that they based the characters on for the Marvel films, was the Dan Abnett series, which was really cool. I don't know if I've got them in this room, but I was lucky enough to get the original Guardians of the Galaxy comics signed by Dan Abnett when he was in Warhammer World sometime. So that was pretty cool. Can't go wrong with a bit of Dan Abnett. I think he's written quite a few comics over the years. There was the it's probably something dead obvious like Titanicus, but the Titan-based one, I can't remember the name of it. Probably is just called Titanicus. That was really cool. Anyone else remember Warhammer Monthly? It was basically a comic book from Games Workshop. I don't think it really ran for that long. I had a load of episodes of it. I think it was eventually cancelled. But it was really cool. So you had, obviously, all the various Warhammer-based graphic novels that had been released kind of later, originally started off in Warhammer Monthly. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I'd love them to see them do something like that again. Obviously, they've done the Calgar comic series with Marvel, but it'd be cool to have an in-house Games Workshop comic, especially as it had a lot of different stories as well. It was quite cool. Jason Sanguinius, okay. Craig Sinclair says, I'd still say Spider-Man despite all the others. Which Spider-Man though, Craig? What's your favourite Spider-Man? The guy, I can't remember his name. The guy currently doing them, the recent Sony films, and he was in Infinity War and Civil War. He's pretty good. I didn't like Spider-Man 3. That was a bit pants. And I never want to see another Spider-Man origin story. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna rescind my vote there. I'm gonna say Spider-Verse being the best Spider-Man film. Does that count? It's animated, but it's really cool. I was watching that on the plane when going on holiday, and I wasn't expecting to like it. I kind of just put it on because there was nothing else to watch, and it was like, oh wow, this is actually really, really good. And Jay with an obscure reference there, Powdered Toast Man, bit of Ren and Stimpy. Another random person I've met as well. I can't remember his name now. The guy who did the voices, he also voices Fry in Futurama. He was at a Comic Con in London one year and again got some goodies signed. I do miss going to Comic Cons. They were fun. I don't know about you guys. Have you ever been interested in wandering around a convention? Some are definitely better than others. Some of them can be a bit pants, really. But yeah, I enjoy doing them. A bit of fun. And again, yeah, something I tend to do with my sister. She's a bit of a comic book nerd as well, so tend to tag along with her for them. I really should sort out my autograph collection. Maybe get some of them up on the wall as well. Problem is that's an expensive hobby as well. Getting autographs and going to conventions. I do miss the UK Games Expo. That's been an excellent event that we've gone to. We've been lucky enough the last couple of years to get... Oh, Tom Holland, that's it. I think Tom Holland is the best as both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Tobey Maguire was good as Peter and not a great Spider-Man. And and Andrew Garfield was the opposite of Tobey Maguire. Yeah. Yeah, I think they've got the sweet spot with Tom Holland. I am interested to see how they move forward with the Marvel Cinematic Universe now that obviously got Captain America and Iron Man out of the picture now due to contracts ending. Death isn't the handicap it used to be though, and certainly not in comic books. So, you know, if they give Robert Downey Jr. a big enough pot of money, I'm sure we could see Iron Man come back in some form. Because, let's face it, he is a really good Iron Man. Yeah. WandaVision's been really good. I don't know if anyone's been watching. In fact, I might paint him next. I've got the Vision ready to paint up as well. I think Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver come out in like a month or so as like a double pack. So I'm going to pick up them as well, aren't I, just for completion. But yeah, I've really enjoyed WandaVision. It starts off very weird, and you've got to stick with it because it turns into something that it doesn't kind of make it out to be at the start. If you think it's going to be all twee 60s style sitcom, yeah, you're in for a shock. But, you know, I know some people have been put off by the first couple of episodes. Stick with it because it's got some massive payoff. End of episode 3 and the entirety of episode 4, you'll start to learn what's going on. So that's the most info I can give you there without any spoilers. And yeah, stay away from the internet because it's best experienced without spoilers. And then you'll probably want to watch a million YouTube videos going into the various Easter eggs and references and the whole tangled net of cool stuff that could be happening. So yeah, I don't know if he's in the chat yet. But Dave, if you haven't watched it yet, watch the rest of WandaVision. It's amazing. We'll wait till he's in because there's some stick that I can give him. But Jay, if you're still in the chat, do you recall Dave's movie scoring system? We Where were we? I thought we'd gone to see if Godzilla or something, maybe. And Dave was telling us that Avengers Assemble was a 10 out of 10. And then we saw something that he then decided was better than Avengers Assemble. And then we had to kind of rework Dave's entire movie scoring system because, we had like 11 out of 10 for the next film, and it just got out of hand. So yeah, if he does turn up, somebody ask him what score he'd give Avengers Assemble out of 10, because that'll probably destroy his entire movie scoring system. Craig Sinclair, I didn't appreciate how good an actress Elizabeth Olsen is until WandaVision. Yeah, so good. It's there's just the undercurrent of something weird and unease, and how she can flip between kind of cliche TV series mode straight back into absolutely bananas crazy, very traumatized Scarlet Witch. In fact, they don't even call her Scarlet Witch, do they, in the MCU? Wanda. And yeah, I'm not going to talk any spoilers, but recent episode, really cool. Confirmed a few things I'd suspected over the series run so far. But I think we've got 2 more episodes left, so I think we've got a couple more surprises to come. So I'm making sure to, on a Friday, just avoid the internet until I've watched it, because I don't want anyone spoiling it for me. So Jay says, yeah, Avengers were the best film ever. Dave gave it 10 out of 10. Then Avengers 2 came out. He thought it was better than the first. So what score does he give it? The latest Stormcast model gets a 14 out of 10 from Dave. Best model ever. Oh, it's a shame that he's not here in the chat with us. We can give him this abuse later. To be fair, though, that Stormcast model is pretty tasty. I do enjoy that. So, what have we got here? So, red and gold. So if we do the other sections red, and then we can go in with like the gold trim and do the flourishes and stuff, and then that should be most of the hair. Base colours down as well. Andy Woods, Avengers Assemble gets a 7 out of 10 for me, and Age of Ultron was at 8 out of 10. I liked Age of Ultron. I did like Avengers Assemble. I do think some of the standalone ones have been more fun. So Ant-Man 1 and 2 are really good. Really enjoyed them. Like I said earlier, Captain Marvel's a nice film. Guardians of the Galaxy wins it for me, but then I'm a bit of a sci-fi nerd as well, so Guardians of the Galaxy is your perfect combo of superhero, sci-fi and comedy, and awesome music. So yeah, basically all the ones with good music in. Iron Man's got good music in. The Guardians of the Galaxy films have got good music in. Captain Marvel's got good music in it. So maybe that's the selling point for me. If it's got a decent soundtrack, I'll give it a decent score. Craig, as a long-time listener, I do enjoy a Davism. There are many. Oh, there really are. We need to put a little. Since he's not in the chat with us, I'm taking this excuse to rip Dave. We need to put a little compilation together. I can't even speak now. Put a little compilation together of all Dave's best moments. I really should go through all the footage that we've got of all Dave's failed charges as well. He was, in fact, if there's any Stormcast players in the chat, we were talking about the Celestin Prime, and Dave's like, "Oh, I don't want to pick one up because I'll save him till the end of the game, and then he'll fail his charge." And then Dave says, "Oh, well, at least it's a more reliable charge because he can re-roll the charge roll. He can pick the charge roll result." And I was like, "Well, that's more than reliable, Dave. That's a guaranteed charge. Since you go, oh look, I pick a charge roll of 10. So if anyone is a Stormcast player and I've got that wrong, let me know, but my interpretation of that rule is that he can pick Alfari charges if he wants to. It's not like the Destiny dice replacing a dice from that roll. It's just he gets to pick the roll itself. Unless it's been FAQ'd or something and I'm wrong, but that's what I'd take away from it. So Dave was happy and he wants to get a Celestant Prime now. I mean, being Dave, there'll be some shenanigans I'd be able to pull against that. Some like minus to charge, and he'll still fail it, because that'd be pretty funny. Right, so these booty bits are red, and then yeah, it's pretty much all the bits that we haven't painted in. Let's do this. I missed a bit of blue there. The bottom of these boots should be blue as well. So on the podcast, how you finding it, Craig? Anything you'd like to see us add to the podcast, maybe? I've been thinking when we're back in the real world, and I know where part of the Purple Sparkly Unicorns is in the chat, Andy, but I do feel that some kind of Sprues and Brews tournament or event is needed. And being Sprues and Brews, it'll be very much a narrative event or something. Something a bit different, something a bit of fun. You know, we want to be inclusive of all the people who maybe aren't too keen on kind of hardcore tournaments and do something a bit different, something a bit more accessible, something where you're not necessarily going to win the event if you win every game. So I might have a think about that and do something cool, because I think there is a gap we could fill there with a light casual event. We shall see. Obviously, that is all going to be post lockdown and sorting out what we can do to do that. But I think it'd be a bit of fun. Let us know what you think. Alright, there's some fiddly bits. I'll have to go in with a smaller brush for them. So while I've got this out, we'll do the other bits that we've got here. So we've got this sash. That's like a gold kind of light thing on her belt. So Craig says, not really, to be honest. I've always really enjoyed the format. Maybe more regular guests. Cheers, Craig. So yeah, we the problem with guests is we tend to have guests on if it's a non-review week, because obviously if we get a review thing from Games Workshop, we can't really talk to anyone about it until it's up for pre-order, which would make covering it as part of say if we had a guest on, a little bit difficult. So with fortnightly releases, if they stay a thing, and I'm hoping we see a post on Warcom over the next week just confirming whether fortnightly releases are staying, or if maybe they are going to go back to weekly releases. If they do stick with fortnightly releases, we are planning on having some more guests on. It's fun to have some different people to talk to and find out about their hobby experiences, and of course finding out their favourite sprue and brew. One of my favourite episodes we did was the one with Duncan Rhodes, the man, the legend. It was really fun having him on. I'd love us to be able to get someone from Games Workshop on. Don't think that's likely though, because obviously they've got their own podcast and they've got their own channels for doing that stuff. But say if there was ever, I don't know, a new edition of, Sigmar, for example, and we were able to get somebody on to talk about it, that'd be amazing. It'd be ace to have like the painting team on as well. So, Nick, Peachy, again, because they've got their own podcast. I don't think they really do that kind of thing where they'll appear on other people's shows because they've got their own one. They can kind of sell the product how they want to on there. But yeah, that's the dream. That'd be really cool getting some of the Games Workshop guys on. Something we could potentially look at is having some ex-GW staff on to talk about stuff. So, I don't know, Rick Priestley or Andy Chambers or something would be fun. Some of the Black Library authors would be cool to have on the show as well. So, obviously it's a difficult one with scheduling, isn't it? We need to make sure that the time works for everybody. So, yeah, it's something that we definitely like to do, though. It just takes a bit of planning and logistics. But yeah, would be fun. Would be fun. Andy Woods, a weekend at Warhammer World playing narrative games would be cool. It would indeed. Oh, hang on. You're using quote mark narrative games. So, there's narrative and then there's narrative. And often with the purple sparkly unicorns, they can get a bit competitive. And I wonder how... Do you know with Andy Bryan's narratively painting some silver Dark Angels? That kind of narrative. Yeah. Though, to be fair, the unicorn events, even though some people will take, proper army lists rather than the rubbish lists that I'll write, it still is really fun to play. Kind of the way people are kind of pitted against each other based on how they're performing means that you're going to have some fun games. Even if you get absolutely smashed in your first one, the rest of the event, really, you should be playing people at your skill level. I kind of like it when you're floating around the lower tables and you've got some fun lists and cool stuff. I go for the mindset of pushing around cool painted models, seeing cool models, and having a bit of fun, rather than kind of focusing on the kind of competitive side, because I'm not a super pro player. I'm not going to compete on that level, so I'd rather focus more on the painting and enjoying games for fun. I know that's a mad thing. Like Dave, again, he's not in on it yet, but Dave won. I think he won Best Sport at the last Unicorn event, and that's a pretty tough prize to win. Just with all the guys are really really fun to play with. So being able to get a Best Sport vote's a massive achievement, really. It kind of shows that you're fun to play against, which, let's face it, that's the most important part of the game. If you turn up with your net list and you're not fun to play against, it isn't a fun experience for the other person. I'd rather everyone at the event have fun and be able to take away something from it. So yeah. So Andy says non-competitive. I mean, yeah. I think that'd be really fun. He's not doing any more armies at the moment, is he not? I don't believe you. He'll do vampires surely. I've been thinking of narrative campaigns set between Free Guild and Orcs. Yeah. So before, I think it was like the week before lockdown, we were putting together plans for having a narrative series on Sprues and Brews, or here on YouTube, where it'd be a combination of like a narrative campaign and a tailor for Warlords. And what we were going to do is basically chronicle us building our Age of Sigmar armies, doing kind of, I guess, Crusade before Crusade was a thing. So building up the story, watching the army advance over time, and basically showing their exploits on the website. And then lockdown happened, and unfortunately we've not been able to do that, which is a shame. Because I think it'd be a really, really fun thing to do, and I think we still want to do it when we're all out of this. Obviously, depending what armies are kicking around at the time. I know Jay'd probably stick with the Lumineth on it. If the Soulblight Gravelords are a thing, then I'll definitely be doing those. The thing I'm torn on with the Gravelords, and I'll put this out to the chat. Do I start painting some stuff now? So the old Skeleton Warriors, the old Black Knights, bits and bobs like that, or do I wait for all the new stuff out of Cursed City and whatever new kits come out? Because presumably the old skeleton kits will probably be staying, though I could see them reimagining them more in line with the Cursed City ones, and I could also see those sprues being released separately, like they did with the adversaries out of Blackstone Fortress. So this is all gold here, so we'll block in the red areas. So yeah, what do you think? Do I get paint some undead now and get myself ahead of the curve, or am I just going to be annoyed that there's new models out that look a million times better than the ones that are currently available? Craig, Dave's infamous wooden spoon was a podcast highlight as well. You took it in great spirits as well. Yeah, that was funny. That was such a funny event. I was game one of that tournament against Andy Bryan, and he was like, If you don't know, Andy is good at the old Warhammers. So he's a proper player rather than us who just roll some dice and make it up. And to be fair, I think he did okay. I think Dave gave him a good game, to be fair. Just unfortunately, as is usually the case with Dave's armies, the dice let him down, I think. Jay says he was gutted he lost it at the next event. Yeah, I think we were working out that he'd won a game, so he wasn't coming last. In fact, I think he placed higher than me. I had an abysmal tournament. I was playing Archaon, Everchosen list, and I had some shocking games. I got battered by Kerry of the Hobby Room live on her stream with Archaon getting killed by a grot. That was a bad game. Don't get me wrong, it was a hilariously fun game, but Archaon did terrible in it. So yeah, I think I only won one game at that event. Got a Best Painted nomination though, so I'll take that. So yeah. Craig says, I would say stay your hand. You don't want to paint 50 old skeletons, then they release brand new skellies. Yeah, and that's the thing. It looks so in previous Warhammer Quest games. So Silver Tower 3 is a perfect example. The units in the box have generally been funny sizes. So without buying multiples, you can't really use them as kind of proxies in the main game. But you get 10 zombies and 10 skeletons by the look of things. So even if I get them from kind of bit sellers, I'll be able to use those skeletons. And presumably, if they've got those absolutely gorgeous models, they'll either sell them separately to be able to use as skeletons and zombies in games of Age of Sigmar, or they'll release a different kit that has the same stylings. So that's my logic. The only thing I'm safe on is maybe the Black Knights, because they did specifically call them out on the stream yesterday, and they still look pretty good. Obviously, the kit is also used for Hex Wraiths, so they're not going to change that too much. So yeah, I might paint up some Black Knights and then leave it at that, and wait to see what new stuff's coming out. So, alright, basically just switch to a smaller brush here, just so I can do some of the more fiddly areas. I'm using just a tad of Water Plus, just to dampen the brush, just makes it flow a lot better. If you've not used it before, what I'll probably do at some point is a bit of a video on the in-store kind of like supplements. So Water Plus, Metal Plus is really nice for doing metallics. I'll be using that when I get to Iron Man and Nebula. Basically, it's like a metallic. I haven't got it on the desk in front of me here. It's like a metallic pigment that you then add colour to create any colour metallics that you want. And then they've also got kind of gloss and matte additives as well. So yeah, some cool stuff. And what I've found is, yeah, you can use, just one paint range, but being able to mix and match those kind of elements and add them into other ranges gives you pretty much infinite colours that you can work on, which is really good. I think I mentioned last week I've mixed up now some kind of like pre-mixed bottles of colours, so I don't have to mix them kind of live on the go. So what I'd find with them, you can have a bit of an experiment, find some colours that you like, and then kind of create bottles of those colours. And then the labels themselves have got enough space for you to write kind of like the recipe on there, just in drops. So 3 drops of red and a drop of black to get that particular shade of red that you've got. So yeah, it's really cool. I would be doing a kind of proper review at some point. I just wanted to kind of be able to test them out in full before I kind of commit to a review. But I mean, I've been using them on these streams for the last few weeks, and I know they are a sponsor, but they are really nice paints. So I'll certainly give them a go. And yeah, if you use the code that's up on the screen now as well, you can save yourself some money as well. They're not super expensive. So yeah, give them a go. Obviously, all different paints handle different ways, and they don't handle the same as, say, Games Workshop paints. Much as we said with Contrast last week, yeah, there's kind of a learning curve on all paints, and it's how you use them, really, isn't it? Right, so let's do the back of her foot here. I think we're nearly there with Captain Marvel. We'll just go back in with some of the blue detail for the bits that I've missed. Oh, there's a bit of red under there that I missed as well. I might need another coat when drying. There's a few splodges of paint that I need to fix up, but she's getting there, isn't she? So let's do the blue. I'll tidy up those areas on her, and then we should be able to finish off Spider-Man before the end of the stream. Andy Woods, we basically saw new zombies, new bat swarms. Yep, we saw a Vargeist. I think it had a different name, a Varskia or something. But basically the same concept. A big bestial vampire that's kind of been starved of blood and turned into a hideous creature. Really like that big chunky model. I can see them doing a more dynamic one as part of the vampire range. Likewise, we saw the kind of like elite vampire infantry. Could that be something that we see instead of Blood Knights, maybe? The kind of guys that like jumping on columns and running across the wall and stuff. They looked really cool. So yeah, there's lots of stuff. They did mention that the undead guy that we did see is kind of like first model in a wave of undead coming. On the Warcom article it says Death Rattle, because obviously they are Death Rattle at the moment. But if you check out the video on Games Workshop's YouTube channel, it specifically says for the new Gravelords faction. So I'm fairly certain that undead is now old school vampire counts. So basically an undead army led by a couple of strong vampires rather than an army of vampires, which Soulblight kind of was in the weird transition from fantasy to Age of Sigmar. And that's something they've kind of moved on. Previously, they'd separated everything out into a gazillion sub-factions to basically make it able to play any army that you want. But the downside to that is that some of those sub-factions didn't really work. So Death being split into Death Rattle, Soulblight, all those different guys, it actually hindered the army building rather than just having a unified vampire lords, for example, for them all. Now, it's something they kind of looked at a bit in Legions of Nagash, but I still don't think it fully worked there. I've got a feeling this is now going to unify all of those with their own battle tome and represent the forces led by a vampire rather than Nagash, because I think Nagash will really be tied to the Nighthaunt and the Ossiarch Bone Reapers now, and then maybe leave the Gravelords more in the domain of the vampires. So have Neferata, have maybe invent a new vampire. We've seen the new guy out of Curse City being a big ogre vampire, so they could go back to the previous concept of having different flavours of vampire. So the various vampire cults that exist, and different bonuses based on which one of them leads your army. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff they can do with the vampires, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they actually do with it, because I think that'll be great fun. And yeah, I'll absolutely be doing them because they sound really cool. I don't think it's going to be super soon. Obviously, we've got the Lumineth Realm Lords coming out. We've got a lot of releases that haven't come out yet. I do believe that there'll be the next kind of big release after the Lumineth. And again, as we've mentioned on the podcast before, Games Workshop don't tend to show too much off of what's coming until the next big release is out. So the Lumineth stuff that we saw is a perfect example. Yes, a couple of the models were leaked, and Games Workshop had to kind of show us the decent models of those particular ones on Warcom. But in the preview that we saw, we just saw silhouettes originally until the Slaanesh stuff was out, which it is now, and then they were able to kind of show the full range because they didn't want people getting too excited about an army that's coming out in 3 or 4 months' time, rather than getting excited about the army that's on the shelves now. So I do get the logic of that. And hey, it's better than it was back in the day where we never saw any preview stuff. It'd be like, this is coming out next week. At least we do get a little bit of hype. And, you know, people like us get to see it a little bit early as well and do reviews and stuff. So I much prefer this style Games Workshop than back in the day. Definitely a good thing. Cool. Right, so I think that's the blue and red down on her. Looking pretty cool. Need to do the gold and stuff on her and obviously her face. But that's a good chunk of her done. So I think what we're going to do is attempt to do, the black on Spidey. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some Norn oil, I think, and we're going to thin it down with Water Plus to make it kind of super thin and hopefully flow nicely into all these crevices. So let's find some Norn oil. I've sorted out all my drawers as well to better organise my paints. It just makes things a lot easier when you're trying to paint something, be able to look down and say, oh, there's me layer paints, there's my contrast paints. I'm running low on Norn oil though. I'm gonna have to get some more washes in. So what I'm going to do is put some on the palette, and then I'm going to add some Water Plus just to thin that out a bit. So that's really, really thinned now. Okay. Get a point on our brush and we'll start painting this in. What do you think of the Luminous Realms getting a new Battletome announced? AOS 3 further out than we thought maybe. Well, see, I really thought that the Broken Realm series was leading up to a new edition of Age of Sigmar. And you know what? It might still be. If there's new Battletomes coming out now, it could be perhaps that the changes aren't quite as pronounced as they were from the changes seen in 40k. So I kind of assumed they'd kind of go contrast it. They'd go more Crusade style content. Maybe that's not a thing if there's new Battletomes coming out now. We mentioned this yesterday when we were chatting about the preview seminar, and that could be a thing that maybe sits with, it could sit within an Anvil of Apotheosis supplement maybe, rather than being something that's in every Battletome. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'd love there to be a new edition, because it breathes new life into the game and you get a cool new box full of models. Equally though, this is the kind of thing where we've made adjustments through General's Handbook rather than maybe relying on a new edition of the game for the changes. I still think we'll see one, and I still think we'll see one this year, personally. Just because the pattern of Broken Realms fits so well with the pattern that we've seen in this previously. So we had the Malign Portents, which is a similar kind of thing, where we had a book and series of miniatures showing the story evolving. We've had the same in 40k with the series we got up on the run to the newest edition of the game. Let's face it, it's how games work to make the money, by putting out new editions and new books and stuff. So I do think we'll see one. Whether it'll be this summer, I'd have put some money on it previously, but yeah, I guess we'll see. So we've got Dave in the chat. Painting time. Hey, how are we doing, Dave? You missed all sorts. We were talking about your Marvel ranking scheme. How Avengers Assemble is a 10 out of 10 film, but then when the next Marvel film came out, you had to amend your scoring system. So just wondering, what is your current Marvel rankings at the minute? Where do they all place, and which is the best, and what's the scores of? So yeah, this is working all right, going into the crevices. What I probably will do is when this dries, I'm then going to pick out the individual squares and give them a bit of a highlight. Should be a bit of a fiddly job, but it should turn out okay. Spider-Man and his netting. And it'll also give us a bit more contrast on the model as well, to kind of get that real comic book look. Yeah, he's getting there, isn't he? Can they not all just be 10 out of 10? No, because this film's better than other ones, Dave. We can't just have a universal 10 out of 10. That defeats the whole scoring system entirely. And there'll just be anarchy on the streets. You know, you can't tell me that Avengers Assemble is as good as Endgame. I'm not having it, basically. And I put my foot down. Okay. Well, we've got this diluted wash. I'm just going to paint some into the crevices here as well. Just again to start building up a bit of that contrast, and then we'll start building up the highlights on the model. Cool. Equally, we're going to put some on the base as well. So into the cracks on the paving tiles, we'll put some washes in. Just to make those more prominent. I'm not going to just put wash over the entire model, because then that'll kind of dry on the surface as a bit patchy and funny. So it's just a case of directing them into the cracks on the base. It should look a little bit better then. And there's quite a lot of detail on these bases. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of kind of like cracks and weathering and pitted little holes, just to add a bit of texture to the base. So what I'm doing is just popping a little bit of wash into those cracks as well, just to basically give them a bit of texture on the final base, because otherwise you'd have a very kind of flat grey base, which doesn't look the best. You know, the base doesn't want to be kind of stealing the show and look better than Spider-Man. But it is all about the bases and faces. They kind of draw your attention and make the model kind of pop on the table. So I always try and make, where I can, try and make the bases a bit more interesting and make sure the faces are like a focal point as well. Because it does help kind of sell the finished model. So just going to put some directed wash into these cracks here, and then hopefully when that dries we should have the really nice netting effect across all this. And then I can go back in, highlight some of the individual squares of red. Can you see that? There you go. So we're starting to build up that Spider-Man effect. And then, yeah, go back in, highlight some of the individual squares with the base red, and then go in with a slightly brighter red as a highlight. And then we should have our friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man done. Yeah, I really enjoy painting this guy. It's I know I've not been doing him long, really. They're pretty quick to churn out. I think because I'm used to painting like entire armies, being able to spend, you know, this long just on a single model is a nice change. Contrast would probably work really well for this red and blue as well. You'll get a nice kind of texture on it I know you've been tempted to pick up the Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy expansion, Dave, haven't you? Just to try out the models, because I know you're a fellow Marvel nerd as well, and painting models and mixing it with comic book heroes is a winning combination, isn't it? So Dave said Endgame is the best one. As for outside the Avengers films, I really like Thor, Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier. I could go on. Spider-Man's looking awesome. I really like it. Cheers. Andy Wood says Endgame is my least favourite Avengers film. Least favourite? What's wrong with Endgame? Endgame's really cool. It's got time travel. You cannot go wrong with time travel. Okay, let's... I just want to kind of emphasise these shadows a bit more. So I'm just going to use some neat rather than thinning it down. And again, we'll just try and direct this into where the shadows will be. So then we just need that contrast between the red and the blue areas. And the tops of the boots. Again, don't just wash it over the whole lot, because you'll just end up with a really kind of like muddy looking, messy red, and it'll look rubbish. So yeah, just direct it in, and then the wash will just settle in those areas then. We can afford to go a bit heavy around the eyes, because the lenses are obviously white, but then they have got a black surround on most designs of the character, so we can afford to be a bit heavier with the wash around there. And then we've got the spider in the centre as well. So I'm just going to put some wash on here just to pick it out, because that's going to make it easier to see it when we go in with the black to paint that detail. And I've now got the Spider-Man theme stuck in my head, which I'd sing, but I'd probably get a copyright strike, so let's not do that, You cannot go wrong with time travel. Sarah kind of disagrees. The Terminator films are a mess with the amount of time travel. Well, no, there's only 2 Terminator films, isn't there? Terminator and Terminator 2. They didn't make any others. If you believe that they did, you're wrong. The first 2 Terminator films are so good. I might have to rewatch those. And speaking of Terminator, while also sorting out the Warhammer room, I found some Terminator models. So we might have to paint them on a stream one day as well. We've got some Resistance fighters, and we've got some of the Terminators themselves. Yes, I know those miniatures are based on films that just don't exist, but I'll allow it if it means I get to paint a Terminator. Cool, so I think we're nearly there with the netting. Yeah, that should dry fine. Like I say, some of the panels I might just need to hit with the initial colour. And basically what I've done is start off with really diluted, just to try and fill some of the recesses, and then just going in with undiluted wash by eye with a size 0 brush, just picking out those bits just to get the red and black down. And then we'll bring the red up a bit. I mean, the stock image I've used in the rules manual, they've actually got quite a dark red. I want to build this up to quite a vivid bright one, because I think the original colour that we had was closer to Spidey's actual scheme in the comics. So if we build this back up to that red, we might do a sharper highlight with Maybe even just like pure red as a sharp highlight. That might be a bit too bright. We'll darken that down a little bit for like a sharp highlight on that. And then I think we're nearly there. He's turned out alright, hasn't he? So we'll put a bit more wash in some of these blue areas we want darkening down a little bit. What we're really going to be doing is kind of highlighting all the muscles and everything to get the comic book vibe. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how he's turning out. So that's Spidey. Likewise, we're going to do the same on Captain Marvel, just to darken some of these recesses. Let's get some more wash. And again, we'll focus this. We're not just going to wash the entire thing because you'll look a bit diluted then. So we're just going to paint wash into some of these areas here that just need a bit of shadow. So around her fists, around her knuckles, just between the fingers. We've got this kind of like star effect up here. And then we'll go in. I'm in two minds whether to do her gold effects, non-metallic or proper metallic. I'm thinking for these Marvel characters I might just do metallics because we've got some nice metallic paints we can use to do that. So I'll do that. Crease in these. We'll just shade some of the creases in the fabric as well. I think we have to do like glowing white eyes for Captain Marvel as well. Get her looking suitably superhero-esque. Oh, Dave, while you're in the chat, have you watched WandaVision yet? You need to get on that. Okay. Again, we'll put a little bit more shade just below these. A spot of wash on there, but I can pick that out later. So basically the effect that we're going for, we want kind of quite extreme shades and highlights because that's how they'd look in the comics. You know, it's not subtle shading, is it, in a comic book? So we're just picking out these lines. Just start building the kind of textures and the 3D effect. You could just flood it with wash and then pick out the colours again, but that's like an extra step in the process then, so I just focus the shade into the recesses and start building it up like that. And then when you've got the highlight on the adjoining kind of like fold, like we've got down here, we can put some really sharp blue highlights on here, and that'll really make it pop then. Yeah, she's looking suitably heroic. Right, so we've got some stuff on the boots to do. And then I think we're nearly there with the shading. So once we've done that, well, that's probably as much as we can do on the stream until those washes are dry. And then, yeah, it's a case of building up the rest of those details. So what I will do is share the progress with that on Twitter. We'll probably be painting more Marvel next week as well. If we get the Wednesday stream going, which if not this week, then certainly next week. I know Dave wants to be involved in that too, so hopefully we'll be painting some models then as well. And let us know if there's a particular time of day that suits. I know a lot of the American audience, this lunchtime slot's a little bit early for people trying to watch the stream. So yeah, let us know if a Wednesday night one is maybe a bit more accessible for you. But yeah, that's looking pretty good now. Pretty happy with her. So yeah, let's clean the brush and have a look at these guys, how they have turned out so far. So I feel we've done a bit of work today. For Captain Marvel, we've got some base colours down, we've got some shade in the recesses. Highlight hair up and she should be good to go. Obviously we've got the gold detail to paint and her face and hair, and then the base. The base won't take long to do though. But yeah, she's getting there now, really happy. And then Spider-Man himself, we've painted down all the base colours. We've put that shade into the recesses, and then once this is dry, we're going to go back in and pick out more of the red areas between the netting, and that should give us more of that contrast between the dark and the light red, which makes up the bulk of his outfit. And then yeah, same here, we'll put some kind of sharp highlights on the blue. We just need to paint the eyes, so white with black surrounds, and really he's not far off either after some highlights, so really happy with how he's turning out. Obviously the base as well needs finishing off, but it won't take long, probably do that at the same time as Captain Marvel, and then we'll have 2 Marvel characters finished today. So yeah, really enjoyed painting those up. Cheers for watching along with us guys again. Like I say, we'll try and get a Wednesday stream on the go once Dave's got his gear set up, which I think he is good to go now, so that'll be really exciting. And then yeah, cool. So yeah, before we wind up, how everyone's got on? I can see Dave has finished Typhus, just needs to finish off the base by the look of things. Everyone else in the stream done what they've wanted to do today. And yeah, we'll jump back on next time and paint some more Marvel. So yeah, until next time guys, see you later and have fun this weekend.